Welcome to another episode of the Sci-fi UI Pack. Today we'll be discussing about the store widget. We just covered everything that has to do with the home button, so we're discussing the second content, widget content inside the widget switcher. So you can either open it from the edits here, or right click to open the widget. So there's an important notice I want you to get acquainted. This is the header widget. It wasn't used here because this widget is just a tab menu on its own, so it wasn't used here. But widgets that will be opening on their own, we have this header widget. You can get that from here, the Sci-fi widget, UI menu widgets, then the mini widgets. This the header. This is the header itself. So the header, the button, if you want to use the buttons, the in-game token widget on its own, you can either pick it up, but it comes with the header. So now in this use case, you can actually change the name of the header to whatever the header name is. You can change it to Great Store, or whatever you want your header to be. But on today's episode, we're talking about the store. So now the store widget has the header, the left tab button left, you can see them here, and the main widget itself, the widget switcher itself. So this widget switcher name here is called the pages. And they are embedded to this menu, to this right tab button, and we also have the back. Now the significant thing about the store widget is that if you're going to, just as we use the entire store widgets in this main menu, you find out that the header disappeared and the button back disappeared because we do not need them here. We don't need them here. But if it's going to be opening independently on its own, the header and the back button will be visible. So on its use case, before we play the widgets, let me just do this. Yeah. So I don't want the loading screen and the start screen to play. I just want it to open directly to the main menu. Now let's see. So if you go to store, you don't see the header and the back button is not here. But if we are in main menu and want to access the store, it opens. So it opens with the header and the back button. Yeah, so that's what we're talking about. So if you'll be calling this widget, if you'll be calling the store widget on its own, you have to get acquainted to, you have to get the function that calls the visibility of the header and the back button. So you can find that here, which is remove header title and the back button. If I bring it out here, you can see whatever button functionality that is calling this widget, you can set it visible or you can hide the show background. So this is the function that calls the header title and the back button. You turn it visible, or you can collapse it. So another important factor is if the store widget is opening independently on its own, just on its own to the viewport, it's being added to the viewport on its own without using a switcher. You can also turn off the background. You can see that here. You will have to turn off the background. If I, okay, that will be, okay. I'll just disconnect this and this, okay, good. So you can see the background here. So the background is visible to you here. So when adding it to the viewport independently on its own, you can choose to switch off the background or turn the background on. For example, you can see that if we visit back to it, we construct, and let's say I want the switch button that we're going to use now. Okay, let's do it this way. You'll see the store. It switches to the store here because it's inside a widget switcher, and it doesn't need to open with a background. It doesn't need to open with a background. Okay, it doesn't need to open with a background. Or in the case where I'm in multiplayer and I want to open the store, I want to open the store from here. Then if I click on, you see it came together with the store, the back button, and the background. So that's the function that controls all of that. This function. Yeah. So, okay. Now the buttons here. Okay. So the buttons here are what controls the switching of the widget switcher of the content. Here we see the weapons. You can click on weapon if you want to buy the item. The weapon displays the weapon name, the amount you want to buy, and yes or no. Same thing with the coin. The coin displays the same information. The loot displays the same information. Yeah. Amazing thing is all weapons here, the weapons are being given to you for free, just the weapon mesh. And this icon also are being given to you for free. So now let's talk about how these widgets are being arranged. These widgets are arranged through a struct. So using a struct here, from the struct, this is a struct. This is a struct. So from the struct we can access the struct through this widget is built with a struct. The contents of the widget switcher, the weapon slot panel, the coin, and the loot were built with a struct, so it's using a struct for its array component. So to access that, all widgets here are the same widget but different content. So to access the widgets, you open the edit. So to find this, you will have to get it in the Sci-fi UI Pack widgets, then the modular folder, the modular widget folder. You will find the M slots. The M there means modular, so it's the M slot panel 5. You can get access to it there. So now, to how this was built, we'll have to start from the root itself. Now this is the main button panel. This is the button panel itself. You can find that in the widget pack from the Sci-fi UI Pack. Click on the weapons. Click on the widgets. You click on widget buttons and panel buttons. Then you will see the main button, the panel button here. Now, after the panel buttons is being created, now this other widget here, we created another widget here to house the slot panel, or you call it the panel button, to house the panel button itself together with a spacer. This spacer enables you to create a padding. You can see here, create a padding for your widgets. You can use it to create a padding. If you're not using the wrap box, if you want to use the horizontal bar, for example, if we're going to be using the horizontal box, so let's strip this off and on this. So if we're going to be using the horizontal box, compile. Now let's go back and talk about this. So the spacer here, if you're going to be using an horizontal box or a vertical box, this spacer gives you the ability to create a spacing between the widgets. So we're going to be calling the function that comes with it, the function, the node that comes with it. So this is the horizontal box. This is how you expose it, bring it here, create a variable from it, and write add child. Add child to horizontal box. So we'll bring this here and bring this here, pass this here, and we are good. Now you find out that we have this. You understand? So with this now, you can now add spacing in between them. So you can access the spacer here. So you can actually adjust from here the spacer. So assuming just from the use case, we have arranged it horizontally. So if you want to use it, you can just come over here where it's been arranged horizontally. Let's just use this. Okay, save. Go to the structs, and if you want to make use of the spacer, you have to make it visible. You make it visible, then you make it visible, then you find out that the spacing, it's affecting the spacing for the first one already. instead. So now let's say we want to use this same spacer. Let's say we want the spacer just to be 80. Good. So from 80 we'll give it ASA. Then you have to enable the spacer visibility for each of them. Enable the visibility of the spacer. Enable the visibility to make it visible for each. Let's just do this tree and see how it goes. Now you can find out that it's reflected on the tree automatically. So we can come here, adjust it to maybe, let's play a bit. So let's say we use 200. Now see, it affected everything at the same time. So that's why we had to create the spacer for it. Let's take it back to what it was before. So let's say 80. Now you see the use case here. So that's how it's being used. Let's go back to our wrap. So now using this wrap box enables us to have full control over the widgets, in the sense that we can actually, let's remove that space of visibility. We don't need it in this widget. So using the wrap box, technically we don't need it, need the spacer. So I will collapse it for each functions. I guess, okay, well, good. Compile, save, back to designer. Now, so we don't need the spacer here, because with the wrap box we can adjust it defaultly from here by just giving it 40. You see, giving it 40, or we can say 25, but depending. 25. Then you can also adjust the wrap size. If it's horizontally, it will wrap horizontal. You can also make it vertically. You can wrap vertically, you can wrap horizontal. So that's the advantage of using the wrap box directly. So now, in this case, to find the struct that this widget button is using, you can find that in the use where it is, the Sci-fi UI Pack blueprint struct, the slot panel item number 1 is the struct is using. So if we double click that, we will see its values, default values. From default values, here you slot in the image that will be displayed. Now this enable rectangular structure, it's a very important feature here. We'll come back to that, but you can change the header text, that is the header text. So here, the header font, then you can customize the font, the subheader font, customize the font. We'll get back to every other details about the structs. So for now, let's create a new weapon slot. Let's create a new widget for this. We're going to create a new widget for this. So to show you how you can implement the struct for store, what's going to happen now is we will create an empty project. Let's create the empty project. UI menu, main menu, store, right? Good. Let's assume this is an empty project. Sorry. Delete. Create an interface. We're going to use the okay, we can check that later. Sample store widget. So to use this, we've created it. Let's just change the class from here. Yeah. So we are good. Now so first to create the wrap box. Remember we discussed the importance of using the wrap box. Okay, so it's the wrap box, then let's just use it directly. You wrap with it scroll box. Yeah, the importance of using the common hierarchy scroll box is because the common hierarchy scroll box comes with an animation, a default animation you can just use defaultly, and we'll put a size box. So let's visit to desired screen. So what size we'll be using? The default size of let's just use 1000 for now. This is just for sample sake. We're not going to be adding any height to it, so we are good. Now we're going to change this to a variable down to the reconstruct. So here we'll create an empty variable. It will say button item, then fix the slots, use the struct boolean type, the s, we'll use the s, then what's the name, sci-fi space, sci-fi UI Pack. Instead of the slots panel 1, so good, we are good. Now change this from single to array. Now we'll create a widget. Create a widget. So what button are we calling? What button? This is not the button, this is not the button. So we have to go find the button we want to call. So we can get the button widget panel, oversize button size override widget. We're calling this, so we just fix it here. For now, this same on player. Now on the button array, you can just bring it out, say for each loop. So we're good. Now we're going to break this. We're breaking this. So we'll break this to have access to all the slots variables. Then our wrap box, we bring it here. Yeah. So that's how the child was created from the child. Then you have to call this widget and pass all necessary informations to the widget. From here we say insert image first, type is good, we're good, what's in header, override so we are good. Now we have our widgets. Next thing is we have to add the children. The widget has been created already. The children are in, so we just have to add the details to the button. So in doing that, I'm just going to make this faster. I'm just going to copy a detail here. I'm just going to copy this, then just copy this, delete this, and just paste, and say okay. So we have our widgets automatically. Now let's say when I arrange this, then make this visible, then give it, oh, we're using a width of 1000, that's true. And so we need to make this to 20. Now we find the advantage of using that. So that's it. I guess here we have to make this horizontal as well. So that's it. So that's how you can use the struct to create. So that's how you can use the struct to create a button panel. Sure. Good. So before we end this episode, this is how we use. So from here you can just fix in your details, fix in the items, the inputs, the image, and every other stuff here. So that's how this was being created. So that's how it was being created, yeah. Good. Now we're going to remove this widget because we're not using it. Then, yeah. Good. So now, in a sense where we have this, you can decide to unlock the slot by clicking here. That makes it unavailable, it's unclickable, you can't access it, or you can just bring it back. You can do the same thing to the second one, or you can bring it back. Good. So on an index now, whenever a tab button is being clicked, okay, so I forgot. So this controls the switching. To access the switching of the widget switcher, this controls the switching. To read, count, set it active, and yeah, this controls the switching. Then the button item, so from the weapon slots array, so this widget here controls the switching between the content in the weapon switcher. Now, whenever a button here is pressed, its information are being sent to the notification requesting you to confirm if you really want to buy this item for a certain price, yes or no. So to get the blueprints that calls that function, the graph. So this is every node that controls that function. So from the weapon, the coin, and the loot. So from the weapon, you will have the button press. This is a binding event. The event have been binded to this 3 bind events, event binding. So create the widget from here. Now this button is created. This custom event is created with its index. Whenever it's being pressed, the index is being stored here. Then the weapon slot panel itself will get the SB slot panel, which is from here. We will get this particular slot panel. So from each of it, we will have to get this slot panel 1. To get this, you have to come to this here. Come to the slot panel 1. We are trying to get this button that was created inside this widget. Get the tab index. So if the tab index here, if the tab index is equal to the button, to the index that was created, that was stored here, if true, set the visibility. That means reveal the notification. So where the information has been passed is from here, from the same struct that creates the panel, from the same struct. So we are not passing every information from that struct. We're only passing the necessary information that we need, which is the image and the header text and the sub-header text. Remember we talked about this enabling rect transform. Yeah, the rectangle texture. The rectangle texture. You find out that it was enabled here. The rect here was sent to this event. So was sent to this input. The same goes here, and the same goes here. Now, when this custom event is being called, the custom event that is setting the prompt for the confirmation, depending on the texture that has been reviewed here, because these textures here are rectangular. They are rectangles. That is to say, they are 1K by 512. That is 1024 by 512. Why these are just square, 512 by 512. This also could be rectangular also, 1000 by 512. To get the texture size, you will have to go into the texture panel, the texture folder, and you go into the texture folder and find the textures that was used. To access them, let's just do it directly. So you see that this is 2K by 1K, 2K by 1K, 2K by 1K, and for the loot here we have 1K, 1K, 1K. Then for the loot here we have 512 by 512, 512 by 512, 512 by 512. So now you're passing the information. If it's square, if the image here is square, that is 2K by 1K, or 1K by 512, 512 by 256, or whatever the case might be, as far it's in that sequence, we are passing it here, the information, we are passing it here. You see square and rectangle transform. So from the weapon, we are passing in the texture to the rectangular. But if it's just a square, we are passing in the texture to the square item here and not the rectangular. So this information here, set it true. If this widget is a rectangular, set it true. Enable the rectangular texture. But if it's not a rectangle texture, just a square texture, disable it. It's very important. It's very, very important, because you might not see your image in the confirmation screen. So the same goes for loots. Loots on the loot widget, the loot texture are all square, so we are not sending any information into this place. So we've come to the end of the tutorial, the store tutorials. The same thing here also. Good. So we've come to the end of the tutorial. On our next episode, we will be talking about the quest widgets. Thank you.